Did you know God was the first one to ever shed blood in the Bible? It's one of those interesting passages we don't talk about very often, but there's a reason why it was included within the text, and it helps us see more clearly God's mercy and how He reveals to us His ultimate plan of redemption. So, in the Bible, God tells Adam he could eat from all fruit bearing trees in the garden except from one, because on the day he eats from that tree, he dies. The phrase on the day used in this passage is the word yom in Hebrew, which is a word often used to refer to a period of time in general. For example, in 1 Kings 2:37, Solomon warns Shimei he'd receive death as punishment on the day, Yom, he crosses the Kidron. But it wasn't until 3 years later that Solomon actually enacted Shimei's death sentence. So we can say that God telling Adam he'd die on the day he eats of the fruit was more of a declaration of Adam's certain death than of the certain period his death was going to take place. It's similar to when a TV character today tells another TV character, when you do that, you are a dead man. Of course, Adam did die in one sense and in a more significant sense, but also in a more obvious sense, he didn't actually die until apparently 930 years later, as recorded in the genealogies. But we know what died instead of Adam the very day he ate of the forbidden fruit. In Genesis 3:21, on the day God declares the consequences of Adam's sins, he does not send him and his wife away in their self-conscious nakedness. He creates garments of skin to clothe them with. Adam and Eve did make for themselves leaves as covering for their bodies, but leaves can only clothe you for not very long, and so God, seeing that, decided to kill an animal, perhaps with his own hands, and skinned it to make sturdy coverings for the now self-conscious human. God was the one to first kill an animal. Death did occur the very day Adam sinned, but it wasn't his. It was the death of an innocent animal killed by God himself to clothe him and his wife from the shame brought by their sin. It reminds us of the fact that we are all inevitably heading towards our eternal deaths because of our sins. But Christ saw that and laid down his life for us so that the heavenly court could pardon us and cease to require our lives from us. The gospel was already there the very day the first human sinned. God, in his infinite mercies, already had it in mind to redeem us by substituting someone else for us. Martin Luther wrote something remarkable on this. He said, Adam and Eve wished to cover their nakedness with fig leaves, which is the figure of all hypocrites who seek to cover their sins by their own works. But God threw away the fig leaves and clothed them with garments of skins. This is a promise of the future sacrifice of Christ, by whose death we are all clothed with righteousness.